So I just watched episodes 4, 5, and 6 of season 1 of Marvel's Ironheart, and I've got thoughts. And by the way, because we're finished with episode 6 of Ironheart, that means phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is over. Which, like, A, the phases don't really matter outside of, like, marketing purposes and stuff like that. But B, it did used to be, like, we did a phase and it would be kind of like a big deal, but, like, not really that for this. I think they really want to get phase 6 started with Fantastic Four, and Ironheart just happens to be the last thing. As with many things in phase 5, and many things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and many things on this planet, Ironheart contains multitudes. There were some things that I think it did really well, and other things that, I don't know, just didn't really fully come together for me. And then there were other things that were weird, and we'll talk about the weird things. But overall, episodes 4, 5, and 6, I think are fine. If you have to, like, view them as a finale, because they are the finale, without, like, spoiling what happens, it ends at a pretty unsatisfying point in the story. And I would say that's maybe my biggest problem with this series and these 3 episodes, is that the finale aspect of it just doesn't really work for me. I think as a finale for kind of this conflict between Riri and the Hood, sure. Like, they are the 2 main hero and villain. Like, of course, they're going to have a showdown, and, like, that's where this has been going. But it feels like if this was a movie, there's something else that would happen. But because this is a show, because shows love to do cliffhangers so they can get resolved in the future, left that thing out. And I kind of wish it didn't do that, because I don't think we'll get a second season of this. And that's not because it's not good. That's just because it doesn't seem like Disney's prioritizing these kind of shows generally. So I don't know if this will get brought up in, like, a Champions thing. I'm incredibly doubtful. But if that's the case, I feel like they kind of have to. And we'll talk about it. Overall, I'd say the big winners from this show, I think Riri Williams as a character is good. Like, in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, she was fine. She was kind of spunky. She had confidence in a way that I think feels like Tony Stark, in the way that Tony Stark would be if he was I don't know how old she's supposed to be, 23, 25-year-old black girl from Chicago, but, like, the same kind of bravado. I don't even know if that's the right word for that. But I don't feel like we got enough time with Riri to really feel that that was earned, as far as, like, being like, you can have a character say that and character act that way in a small time period, but, like, can they add the rest of Iron Man's character, and, like, can they bring in the parts of Iron Man's character that balance that out? Like, he talks a big game, but he's really clever, and he's got all these faults, and he's kind of, you know, difficult with people. Like, I think they managed to set up Riri Williams after the first season of this show as a pretty interesting next step of Tony's legacy, because, like, if Tony's legacy was Pepper, right, like, if that was the future, she's not really like Tony Stark. Like, she doesn't have the same, she balances out Tony Stark really well, and obviously she's, like, a good guy, and she has Iron Man suit. And if you were going to say it was War Machine, I mean, we don't really know anything about War Machine, and even the things we do know don't count, maybe, but I would say he also has an energy that's very different from Tony. However, I think Riri has a similar energy, and it comes from the fact that she was raised in a kind of the same way. Like, she was a little kid genius who grew up, and people were like, oh, you're gonna be really cool and make cool inventions, and she got a lot of pressure from that. But also, you know, as she says, like, she didn't have all the money that Tony Stark did, so she wasn't able to build, you know, an infinite amount of Iron Man suits, and that set up a difference. But I do think, like, she does feel like a decent successor to Tony in that way. And I don't think I really got the sense for that until maybe episode 5 of this show, where she's fighting everybody in the White Castle, where I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of like what Tony does in that third Iron Man movie. But not the same thing, but, like, it's resourceful, you know, scrappy, and without the suit, he's still kind of a superhero. Like, all that stuff, I think Riri had that here. Overall, I like Dominique Thorne. I think in these last 3 episodes, like, the thing that was interesting about the first 3 episodes is that it's her kind of falling into this pit of consequences where, like, things are piling up, and this person's mattered, and this person's mattered, and this thing went wrong, and this thing went wrong. And this, you know, 3 episodes you assume would be climbing out of that pit, and some of it is, but more digging happens also, and there's more kind of, like, arguing with people, and it really does it until the 6th episode. You don't feel like she has the full emotional understanding that the series is going for, which is good. Like, she has to learn a lesson, but I guess, like, this character has a way that she interacts with people that feels like a genuine character flaw, and, like, a thing that is going to get her in trouble, which is she thinks she can solve every problem, which is very Iron Man of her. And I like that. I think that aspect of her character works well in this series, especially because every character around her is like, tell me what's going on and I'll help you, and she just refuses to. I think they set that up in her backstory with like what her deal was and like why she feels so adamant about having to create some sort of Ironheart suit. I think it's a good enough explanation for this, right? Like, it's like, okay, we want to get this character to want to make an Iron Man suit. So I would do it because she experienced a loss and she wants to have something that first responders can use so that in her situation, they would have got her faster. There's other things you can build besides an Iron Man suit to solve that problem. And, I'm not telling Riri how to do her job. I'm just saying, I get it. It feels like a kind of roundabout way to solve that problem. Like, part of it is just like, you could just say you want an Iron Man suit. Like, it's cool to have Iron Man suits. It's cool to want to do stuff like that and have like big dreams. I don't know, but that element of her character was interesting. I would say the thing that out of 4, 5, and 6 I liked the most. Well, let's talk about the thing I didn't like the most. The Hood. So overall, I think Anthony Ramos, very charismatic, very watchable on this show. I think the Hood always felt like a character who was like outgunned here. And partially it was because, like, we know what the Hood is. He's a guy who could turn invisible sometimes, with a set of magic guns, which we never fully understand where those came from, which is only interesting because of how the origin of the Hood is changed in this show. But we get a sense that this guy is like trying to do robberies and trying to get money and all of this stuff. But it's like, why is he doing that? We don't really find out until episode 5, although we could just kind of assume it's because he wants money. And then what is stopping someone better than him from just showing up and beating him up? Like, what is stopping Spider-Man from just showing up and beating up the Hood? And it's like, not really much. And because of that, like, there's the bit where Natalie's saying, like, he can bend bullets and force them by his will to hit the person he wants them to hit. I'm like, your suit is bulletproof. I think you're good. Like, there's people who can shoot around you, and that would be sad. But, like, as far as you getting in a fight with him, I think you can beat him. Also, you used your laser to cut some of his cloak off. So, like, I don't know. It's magic, but it's not as magic as laser. So I guess Parker felt like a character who was kind of struggling. And especially in episodes 4, 5, and 6, where, like, he was trying to figure out what his next move would be. And he had moves, and I think when we figure out what they are, they're kind of stupid. But I guess my problem with Parker is it's just like, I don't know, man. I think she can beat this guy. Even if he can become invisible when he holds his breath, I think she doesn't even need magic for that. Just get, like, it's flour or something. We've figured out. I mean, listen, we've talked about this at length on my podcast, mostly nitpicking. The different ways to get an invisible man. Like, I don't think they're as dangerous as the movies would make them seem to be. By the way, that was my cat Mortimer, who just walked over my lap and onto the floor. He's just here because he loves Italian food. The show's got a lot of Italian food because obviously Garfield loves those things. So, all cats love them. And probably shouldn't eat them. I think they're all like allergic to milk. Anyway, okay. So Parker Robbins. I like this character, but I did think he felt like kind of an underwhelming villain. Now, the other villain that we set up in the finale is equally underwhelming, if not more, only because I think overall this show looks pretty good. I think the effects have been solid, like the kind of stuff that you would be like, this is a good looking movie. The kind of stuff where, like, there's certain shots where I think if this was a movie, you'd see it and go, hey, they could have taken another swing at that one. Like, that looks a little rough, but for the most part, like, looked great. And with the Ironheart suits and with the Hood, kind of, but as much as you would need to, things didn't look like they were a toned down version for TV. Like, the homemade Ironheart suit looked fully made, and the same goes for the final Ironheart suit. But I guess, like, I guess we're in spoiler territory. I don't know, man. Overall, I think the show's okay. I think the finale has some really fun, bright spots, and then a bunch of other spots that are not as bright, but are, I guess, kind of cool. And overall, it's very interesting how this may or may not connect to things in the future, because of how Marvel's priorities have shifted in the years since this has been finished. But okay, so the secondary villain, Ezekiel Stane. I kind of liked him in the first half of this show. In episodes 4, 5, and 6, I feel like he gets mad, like, for a reason I think is reasonable. I am not completely sure why he doesn't explain that Riri did this. Like, he seems like he's gonna go to jail right now for all of those murders and doesn't want to do that, and he's mad at Riri. Tell people that Riri did it, because she's an Iron Man, and there'll probably be footage of her flying around doing Iron Man stuff. So, that might help. But either way, his, like, descent into villainy felt kind of silly. I actually liked him in jail talking to Parker Robbins. This is the thing with Anthony Ramos. I liked watching him act. I love the bit where Ezekiel Stane is like, oh, I'm so sad because I don't have a life anymore. And Parker It's like, that's great. Like, that's an opportunity. I think Parker is a character who can work with people and kind of manipulate people. Love that. That part was cool. But then everything after that with Ezekiel felt really weird. One, because I've seen this character in the comics. He has like the kind of bio version of the Iron Man suit. Like, he is a character who's more interested in biotics, if that's like a thing. I'm honestly don't even, but like the kind of thing where it's like, oh, you liquid metal, whatever, and like integrated into his body in ways that are pretty bizarre in this show, but in the comics don't look as strange. But also, he ends up with like a suit in the comics. In this, he just has little like Frankenstein bolt thingies that let him do electricity. So my first problem with that, it doesn't look as cool as it could. It's the one thing in the show that I think is underwhelming visually. And also, it's underwhelming in that it's just him shooting electricity and like punching, I guess. But like, doesn't feel like a really exciting guy. It's just Electricity Man. We have plenty of those. This is not that special. If anything, that's something an Iron Man can sometimes beat by just absorbing the electricity. But whatever. I didn't think his fight scenes looked great, because it was just a lot of blah and blam. But then, when he starts becoming the Hood's little soldier, puppet, that I think looked really dopey. On purpose, and I think Alden Ehrenreich was doing the job he was supposed to do. I do think that kind of clashed with like the tone that it felt like they were trying to set with the Hood, and just like with that this character is scary. But like, I've seen Upgrade. I've seen movies like this. I've seen Venom. You could have a character not want to do the thing and then do the thing, and they're kind of being driven by their body. I think we've seen that a lot. I think what was weird about this was he would go like, I don't want to do that, and then Parker would say, go do that, and he'd go, look, and then get dragged in like a cartoon character or something. And that I feel like looked kind of silly, especially later when he's doing the fighting against his will. Like, overall, I enjoyed the setup of this character, but I don't remember if I said this last week, but it was like, I hope he looks cool when he gets his powers, and I don't think he looks cool, and I don't think the fights with him were that great, and I think the comedy beats with him didn't really work for me. Overall, though, I like this character. I know I'm saying a lot of negative things, but I thought it was okay. I think the Hood looked great. Because I think the Hood has had a very strange, like, outfit throughout the series, because the Hood is weird, right? It's just like a weird thing to be wearing, but sometimes he wears like a fancy shirt under it. Sometimes he wears the hoodie, right? Like, sometimes Parker Robbins has a more casual look, and sometimes, like he does in the scene where he goes and fights his dad, he wears a full suit, and I think that looks good. But yeah, I don't know, it's just, there's something about the Hood where, like, I feel like when we found out what his deal was, it made him less interesting. When we found out that he was a little Nepo baby, and B, just in it for like money and power, and we'll get to the deal he made and stuff and all of that. But he just had, I felt like, boring ambitions for a character like this. I'm not saying he needed to have a master plan, but like, I feel like this character needed something else that was his actual goal. It is something he wanted to fix, right? Or at least he needed to have pretended that, and then that was something that we learned later is like, oh no, he really just wants money. Because like, I guess it always seemed like he wanted money, and he was kind of doing this like, we're sailing it from people that suck, so it's okay. And you're like, yeah, whatever, do what you gotta do. But like, at the end of the day, for me to be interested in this character at all, he needs to have something that makes him a little bit more interesting. And I think taking the Nepo baby thing away, having him be like just some random kid who got these powers and is using them to, take apart this gigantic money organization in Chicago, that would work. Or having him be the Nepo baby who wants to do something else, something he thinks is altruistic via murders. That would work too. But both of them together for me don't. I really do like Riri here. She feels very stressed, and I think that is fun. I think that, most of the action in the finale was pretty good. That shot where the Ironheart suit punches the car, cool. I like the final Ironheart suit. I think that is probably the best one of these so far. In terms of one that looks like Ironheart, I still think like these all feel too bulky. I think that's one of the things about the Ironheart suit that feels kind of distinct from everything that's already been in the MCU, is it feels like it's like kind of the nanotech suits are just like a layer of skin, but not like a bunch of big giant parts. It feels a little freer, and I was kind of hoping we'd get there, but that's something we could work to in the future, I guess. I think overall the suit looked cool. I think the effects of the suit looked good. I thought the bits where the Hood fought her were fine. It's cool that he had scary Morbius face. That was good. Okay, so let's talk about the two things. Let's talk about the thing that I really liked first. Zelma is in the show, apparently. Now, I didn't know that this character was going to show up, but maybe if I'd paid more attention, I would have seen this announcement. For people that don't know, Zelma Stanton is a character from Marvel Comics who was introduced as like Doctor Strange's assistant, kind of. She's like a librarian, got involved with mind worms, which is something that we see a little bit here. And if you don't know her from there, you might know her from Strange Academy, which is the magical school that Strange and mostly Voodoo and some of the other professors who are like more involved with that set up in like the Bayou, I believe, where, you know, all of the magical characters become teachers or whatever. I believe she's the librarian in the Strange Academy. And that is an interesting character, and especially the way she's portrayed here, very interesting. I like that, like, we're introduced to this character because the mom is like, you need help, I can help you. And it's like, can you? And it's like, well, kind of. In this, you know, it seemed like I just did like sage and incense, but really apparently I know people that do actual magic. And even though I'm kind of surprised by that, and like we could call them, I guess, but I love that that's how this connection happened, because I was kind of curious, like, well, how is Riri gonna learn magic? She doesn't know magic, nobody knows it around her. And it's like, well, apparently this character does. And you know, I like that she's not great at it. I like that she has like a sense for who Doctor Strange is, what Camartage is, knows it's not where she is, but like it's a goal. She aspires to work there. Like all of the characters on the show, I had no idea how old she is supposed to be. So probably, I guess, whatever her actor is minus maybe 2 years, because it's probably when they filmed it. So I would imagine she's also in like her late teens, early 20s or something. But like that perspective on magic in a universe like this, great. I love it when a character gets a thing and goes, what's this? And then goes, oh no, this is the worst thing. Get this away from me. I love moments like that. And I think bringing Dormammu into the story through those characters, cool. I do think send her away. Be like, no, get that away from me. Tells her to destroy it. And in my head, I'm like, well, you didn't tell her how. And then the next couple of scenes is Ironheart trying to destroy it and then failing. It's like, well, yeah, how was she supposed to? You're the only person that could tell her that. So you text it over or something. You don't need to do it in person, but just like, I don't know, give us a little bit of information. And I liked Zelma almost existing as a like parallel. She is like the magic version of Riri. She's a self-made woman. You know, there's all these other heroes that have this stature like Doctor Strange that she looks up to. And honestly, like, I think that would be the show that I'd want to watch in the future. It's like a show about her. And that would be what the Strange Academy show would be. And you would make it maybe more of a college-aged show. And then you would have characters like her who are usually not students. They would be the students. Like, that's the show you could make. But I was happy to see her. It was a nice surprise. Her inclusion in the post-credit scene, weird. But, you know, whatever. Who cares? This is never going to get followed up on. But then, the other thing. The thing that I feel like most people were probably like, well, was he going to talk about? Yes, I will. So we got what had been rumored for years. I believe 2022 was the first time we heard this might happen. Sacha Baron Cohen, in a couple of scenes in this episode, playing a character who originally you're kind of like, I think I know who this is, but eventually he finally says the word,
you can call me Mephisto,
which is the devil. And even if you say Mephisto to someone and they go, who's that? Mephistopheles. This is a thing people know? Have people not heard this? Like, I'm not saying you need to know exactly who that is, but like, you know it's the devil, right? It's kind of clear to you that this is the kind of literary devil, the biblical devil who like makes deals and is evil to people. But either way, we got the Mephisto thing. He didn't look like Mephisto except for that one reflection in the spoon, which is cool. He's played by in this Sacha Baron Cohen, an actor who in 2022, when this was rumored, I was like, cool. I'm excited. That's going to be great. I can't wait to see more of him in these. Now, I'm not saying he's like shouldn't be in the show or anything like that. I just personally, because of geopolitical events and things like that, I'm not as psyched to see him because of his stance on those. And that's a bummer because I do think he's like good in this. I think he's doing something pretty specific. It's funny that he does like a bunch of different accents and characters. That feels like his, and that's very devil-y. He's just like kind of having fun with it. You know, you've been doing this for millennia, so you gotta, you know, spice it up a little bit. We find out that the hood is working for Mephisto. Sure. We kind of always knew that, or like we always expected that. Mephisto is very clear in this that he is not working for Dormammu, which is interesting because usually the cape comes from Dormammu, but it seems like Mephisto, I guess, took the cape from someone, Dormammu sorcerer or whatever, and gave it to Parker Robbins using Mephisto magic. I don't know. But he is a guy who is weird and tempts you, and then you go to him and make a deal that's bad for you. You sell him your soul for something. Now, the Parker Robinson confrontation starts with him really hyping Parker up, and you're like, but why? We've seen the fruits of this bear out, and he's not very good at this. Like, he could do, I don't know, more crimes than zero, but like, I don't know if Mephisto, if you checked on like what else is going on, like giving random people an invisibility cloak is not as good as like, I don't know, getting a Red Hulk or something, which seems totally up for grabs. It does feel like he just does this a lot. Like, he's got a lot of irons in the fire, you know, he's got a lot of different horses in the race. So, you know, one of them's going to come out on top, and that's good. And it's, you know, it's Mephisto. He doesn't really need goals besides just getting souls and stuff like that. I like the energy that Sacha Baron Cohen brings to this character. Like I said, it's weird. It's kind of like almost a little like flirty and kind of provocative. He's trying to test boundaries, but at the same time, he thinks he's very cool. So he's also trying to like impress you, and, you know, name dropping people like Beatles and stuff like that. Also, this is like a detail that now makes me kind of confused. He says the Forbes 100 most wealthy people, he's made deals with all of them. Does that include Black Panther, who's traditionally the wealthiest person in the Marvel Comics universe? And then, like, what about, like, Danny Rand and some of these other characters? I imagine Pepper Potts is up there. That's something you could say in this world and I'd buy it. But in that world, it's like, I'm pretty sure some of these people haven't done that. But maybe they all have. I don't know. And I don't know what Daniel Rand's up to. I mean, he probably doesn't have all that money anymore. I guess we spend enough time in this universe with billionaires that, like, if this is the case, one of them has maybe made a deal with Mephisto, and maybe they just don't know it. Or maybe he's lying, but, like, Mephisto shouldn't lie. That's no fun. Mephisto has to always tell the truth, but, like, with a little bit of lyingness to it, you know? Anyway, so it seems like Mephisto realizes correctly that Parker Robbins isn't that great and trades up to Riri in the final big scene of the series. And because Riri lost the Natalie bot and she doesn't have access to her friend anymore because magic always takes something, that is what she gets back, is the real Natalie, which is, I guess, like kind of, maybe she's in like an alternate universe now where that death didn't happen. It's unclear. It is bananas to me that the show ends with this humongous cliffhanger that will almost certainly never be resolved. If we ever see this character again, it's going to be in a Young Avengers thing, and there's no way that this is going to be the most important part of it. Like, I feel like she's going to show up, and maybe she'll be like, someone will say like, hey, did you have a deal with the devil? And she'll be like, I got rid of it. It's fine. Because, like, that can't be what this is about, right? Like, I think Marvel knows there's something to taking a person from a movie and putting them on a TV show. But the TV show up to movie thing, expecting a movie audience to have seen a TV show is daunting and doesn't always work out. So I cannot imagine they would hang champions on, have you watched Ironheart? So if they don't do that, they have to assume you didn't watch Ironheart, which means they have to assume none of this stuff really matters. And that's weird. They're in a weird spot. Also, like, because it feels like there'll be a reset or something like that, is Sacha Baron Cohen ever going to come back for anything else? Like, it's also interesting, someone brought this up. Spider-Man and Ironheart kind of switch plots. Spider-Man usually makes deals with Mephisto. Ironheart is usually Tony Stark's, like, protege, trying to fill his shoes, has an AI version of him and stuff. But, you know, whatever. This has happened before, by the way. There's precedent for Ironheart specifically making a deal with the devil. Now, she did it in the third volume of Champions, made a deal with Blackheart, and then all the not all, but a lot of the champions ended up doing the same thing. That, I think, plays out a little differently, where, like, if you're being influenced by Blackheart, he just makes you really angry and mean and, like, tries to take your soul. But it isn't, I don't remember it at least being the same kind of thing where, like, sits down and has, like, a deal with you. That feels like it should have consequences, where, like, Riri would have to spend whatever season 2 is. And I would love to see what the season 2 plan would be. Like, fixing this, getting her soul back, going to hell, I guess. And that would be pretty cool, actually. To have that be like a season of this show. But yeah, we'll probably never get that, so it's like weird that that's where this ends. Little things, notes. The newscasters were really mean about Ezekiel Stane, as if he did anything super crazy, considering, you know, we didn't actually see him do this crime, and it's just like he had a lot of weapons and he was secretly Ezekiel Stane. And one of the newscasters says, like, his dad, Obadiah Stane, who we all loved, would be rolling in his grave if he knew what his son was saying. And the other newscaster's like, good one. Like, they're just roasting him for this. Also, we talked about it last week, but I have to say it again because it gets dumber the more you think about it. Like, if people believe Tony Stark is Iron Man and he is the good guy, which largely they do, and they know that the Iron Man story that he was going to feed the press originally was fake, and they know that Obadiah died around that same time, and they know that Tony was fighting somebody in a similar Iron Man suit because they were fighting on like the highway, like picking up cars of people that survived. People must know that Obadiah was that guy, right? And like, they must have put that together. And maybe it's just the media and they've spun this really, really well. But like, I guess, I don't know. I need one of our like conspiracy characters to have like a wall and just have put that together. Like, we saw Hood training to hold his breath. I thought that was fun. It didn't really come up because, you know, the holding your breath thing, he doesn't really need that much. He like walked into his dad's place and shot everybody. Like, the part where you're secret didn't really do that. Also, now I'm thinking about it, was he holding his breath the whole time he was in that car with that woman? When did he get in that car? In the like first episode or second episode or whatever? Because like, he's already in there and it's like, whoa, he's in there. But it's like, he must have been in there the whole time, right? I don't know. I like that they are like, what does Dormammu even want? He's gonna eat us all or something? It's kind of like a thing with Galactus, but also just like, I don't know, that is kind of what they all seem like they want. Just to like eat the earth and be done. That line, "My death won't make the news," was a funny line. And she's right. Although like Obadiah Stane's son having a lot of weapons, like I feel like you would be kind of, you're something, right? Like, again, what do people know about you? Do they know you're Ironheart? Do they know that you have been running around in an Iron Man suit doing all kinds of crimes? Because someone must know, because people could see you. I don't know. White Castles don't look like that, just because even by me, they all have glass. There's so many of them have bulletproof glass separating the White Castle from the White Castleese. And maybe this is the fanciest White Castle that ever lived, but that would have solved all the White Castle's problems and would have made for a bad scene. Interesting amount of like White Castle product placement. I saw a video that apparently they built that whole White Castle, and that's great. You know, I'm not a humongous White Castle fan, but good for them. Oh, the only other thing I'll say, there's no way he wouldn't have biotics in his crotch. She's like, I'll kick you in the crotch because you don't have biotics there. There's no way he wouldn't have a super penis, or wouldn't have thought to make that. Not saying that's like something this character seems like he hasn't made a big deal out of it, but feels like he'd do it. Those were all my thoughts. I don't know. Overall, I think the show is fine. I think, let's look up Phase 5. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shows in Phase 5, and that's if you don't count the Spider-Man show that I think kind of maybe should count but doesn't, because I wouldn't say that's in the MCU, and I wouldn't say that's even like anywhere near the MCU. Whereas like What If, which I'm also counting here, like that is, you know, meant to be MCU adjacent at least. So I will say, out of all of them, here's my ranking. It's easier to go from the bottom up. Bottom, number 1, Secret Invasion, worst one. Number 2, Echo. Didn't really like Echo that much. Number 3 might be Ironheart. Is then number 4, probably What If. Number 5, Born Again. And then the top 2, I think, are Loki. And then number 1 for me, which I'm shocked by looking back at it, is Agatha. I think Agatha is the best one. The most just total hits, like doing everything really well. And I'm as surprised by that as you are. I think that overall Ironheart was okay. It feels very much like one of the Phase 4 shows, like Moon Knight or Miss Marvel. It feels a lot like Miss Marvel, actually, where it's introducing a special group of people that we haven't heard about. We're probably not going to see them in the future. Like, this one character is going to carry over, and like, you know, it's fine, fun little thing. I don't know. I'm glad they finally did Mephisto, but also I cannot imagine we're going to have that much more time with Mephisto. Could have been a whole phase, but it seems like it's just going to be X-Men stuff in the future, which is fine with me. Final thoughts. This show was definitely not bad. It was kind of good. The ending, I think, for me, where the main character takes a deal with the devil, and then that just never being probably resolved, is pretty weird, and will always spoil the taste of the show in my mouth a little bit. Like, I don't think I can really love it after that. And it's not the show's fault, but it is kind of like, tell a full story or don't. If the show's gonna have a cliffhanger, that may be the Disney decision or maybe the people on the show, but either way, like, it's gonna feel incomplete if that doesn't get resolved. I think Dominic Thorne is good. I like this Ironheart. I did enjoy the Hood. Again, most of it is probably because I liked Anthony Ramos in the show. And Ezekiel Stane, I liked less as it went on. I liked him more when he was just a weirdo who had a weird legacy and didn't really know what to do with it. As he became a supervillain, it got kind of dumb. But that's it. I didn't love it. Other things, like all the supporting characters, Natalie, everybody that was around here, fine. The crew, fine. But yeah, overall, I think you could turn this on and enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be anybody's favorite Marvel thing, but I also don't think it's anywhere near where Secret Invasion was, or like the actual bad Marvel stuff that they've put out. So I think for that reason, like it's okay. And there was some stuff in there that I do think genuinely was really good. And you know what else is good? Nebula. I would be surprised if you have not heard of Nebula by now. It is a subscription streaming service that I and a bunch of YouTubers created back years ago, not that long ago, but like it's been around for a little while. The goal was we wanted an ecosystem where we could exist outside of the algorithm, so we wouldn't have to cater to views and stuff like that. We'd make the videos that we wanted to make. And at the same time, we wanted to have space to make original projects with bigger budgets. And we have some really cool ones coming out. Obviously, there's stuff like Jet Lag, which is hugely popular, and I don't need to explain probably what jet lag is to you. There's also Abolish Everything, which I really enjoy. Patrick Williams has a short film coming out soon called The Dinner Plan. Maggie Mayfish has a series coming out soon called Amy's Dead End Dream House, which from what I have seen, seems like a take on like a Pee-wee's Playhouse, one of those shows where like the furniture talks to you, but with a more contemporary twist. And I think Maggie and her team are really smart and funny. I cannot wait to see this show. And then one of the biggest things we have coming up is a show we're working on called Subliminal. It's an anthology. It's very dramatic in the vein of things like The Twilight Zone, but instead of being based around some funky science fiction concept or whatever, this is all just based on complicated human relationships. A bunch of cool YouTubers are writing and directing episodes of this. We have actual actors doing this work. This is going to be really exciting. And one of the episodes, one that is going to be directed by Patrick Williams, is written by me. The episode is called Power Trip. I, again, don't want to spoil it because just when it comes out, you watch it and you'll love it. This is really my first like Nebula original thing, so I'm very excited about it. I've been writing it for a little while. If you're like, why is some of the video frequency slowed down a little bit? But I'm done with it, so that's the best part. You know, I've written it, so there it is. It's there. So it is up to Patrick and our production team to put this episode together. I think it is going to be really cool, and you're going to be able to watch that exclusively on Nebula. You can also watch all of my videos early and ad-free, including Nando Cut videos, which go up maybe a couple hours before they go live on YouTube. But still, that's early. You're seeing it before anybody else. And a yearly subscription to Nebula is a steal already at $5 a month or $60 a year. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/The Nando Cut, name of the channel, you can get a year of Nebula for just $3 a month. It is a great deal. It's a great way to see all my videos. There's a bunch of other creators on Nebula who you definitely already like, and there's a bunch of others that we're bringing on as, you know, time goes on. Who knows when you're watching this video? Check out Nebula. There will be people that are not on there when I'm recording it, and we have some pretty cool ones that I'm excited they're going to be part of Nebula, and we're always growing. So anyway, that is my pitch for Nebula. So watch my videos early and ad-free, and watch Subliminal, specifically my episode and all the other episodes, when they are released in the future. I do not know exactly when, but we're working on it right now, and I'm sure we will have more updates. So follow me on, you know, Twitter and all that stuff. I'm Nando V Movies all over the internet, and you will see updates from me. That's all I got. Stay safe. See you next time.